whatever.
Yeah.
And you should have got a little pop-up that says we're live.
Yeah.
Yada, yada, yada.
Uh-huh.
And it's got a little, well, you can see what I see. So
Yeah.
I'm quit narrating here. All right. And you should have got a little pop-up that says we're live.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. I gotta try that one down. Well, you can see what I see.
Yeah.
I'm quit narrating here. Live. We're
Pew pew pew. Happy anniversary. Year anniversary, Mike. Hey, this is Thomas. I'm here with Mike. This is the first to last Nerdom. We're shooting this straight off the cuff. We're live celebrating our year anniversary. It looks like Mike has a little bit of wine and I've got my boomer juice here, so we're ready to go.
also have the coffee as well. Yeah, so here we are. 1 year we've been doing this, and I was just commenting that we had 78 video or 79 videos or whatever. This will be 80 or whatever it is. I don't know if that counts live streams or whatever. We've attempted this in the past.
Yeah.
And unfortunately I try to push too far too fast and it fails or blows up or whatever, and we have to redo the stream. Fortunately, we've only done that a couple times, but in any case, I'm really proud of us. I had no, and I know the way that we've come into this partnership, I had no expectations for longevity or not. So long as we keep doing it and it's fun, we are free will here, and we've had quite a bit of ups and downs, but for the most part, we've nailed it, I think, and we have grown our subscribers from like 0 to 30. And this is our first official live stream, so we'll see how that goes. But we really hope that you can join us. Unfortunately, I don't have the technical prowess right now to figure out if there's any live chats, and if there is, good for us. But it will shout you out afterwards for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if we could see them. Yeah, it's it's our first, so we'll get better as we go, obviously. But yeah, it's when I scroll through all our videos, I go, wow, we've done a few here. And
what before it gets too long in the tooth, I need to create a database or whatever for what we have covered and what we haven't covered, because like my brain, unless it like really stuck in my brain, it's like Swiss cheese. It's like plug a hole and then something else leaves, and you don't know what that thing that leaves until you.
Yeah. And we've had some ups and downs. And there's some videos that have blown up that some of them that were a bit of a surprise. We're still trying to figure out what everybody likes and is interested in watching, but also we're interested in talking about stuff we want to talk about. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we're selfish sometimes. So yeah, if even if a video doesn't get a bunch of views, that's not going to hold us back from something similar. Maybe people catch on, maybe they won't. Hey, I know.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I know that once you get so many views, then YouTube starts recommending it more and blah blah blah. So I think once we break that ceiling where we're getting a decent amount of views, then it'll start snowballing, hopefully. But yeah, we're comfortable where we're at. We're gonna keep doing it. Hey, our first year, I didn't think we would actually get an actual interview with an actual celebrity, and we did.
I'd say that was probably the height of shock and surprise from myself as well, because like that was really cool, and it can only get better. And I also wanted to thank you, Thomas, for being such a loyal partner in this endeavor, and dealing with my wonky schedule and moving. In the past year, I've had a lot of big changes. Bought a house, moved, took care of a lot of other things, but all throughout this whole, you've been a steady partner, and I want to commend you on that and let everybody know. Give Thomas a shout out and a thanks, because he is 100% half of this thing, obviously. And I am too as well. But
Yeah.
for the most part, I couldn't do this. Would be very boring if it were just me talking at the camera or whatever. It's just not the same feeling and whatnot. And at some point, we want to expand our interviews, our guests, to be doesn't have to be an author or whatever. I know I want to get my brother-in-law on here, and I know you have a couple other people you've been talking to kind of pop that door open, and maybe we'll get to that point here shortly. But meantime, we're sitting here. It's November 16th. This is the week before Thanksgiving. So we are covering our grab bag. This is our grab bag, which I forgot to put in the title, but that's okay. These are things you learn on. We tried to do this live thing before, but it didn't quite pan out. But this was the right place, right time. We've been doing this for a year now. Actually, over a year technically, but I think November 2nd is our official anniversary date. But
Right. Yep.
But in any case, we're going to get in here pretty shortly. But to kind of pick up on, did you have any other thoughts that you thought after our show was wrapped up for this past our main show for the Lynch and Dune, the thing that catapulted us to do this whole thing, as it were?
Yeah. It's a good thing to have us tied to such a great movie like Dune 2021. And like I said, in our podcast, we'll revisit that. If you haven't seen it, our podcast from Sunday was we were talking about Dune 1984 as compared to the 2021 version, and it's steadily getting views. I thought our not to get caught up in views, obviously, but our black metal one I thought wouldn't draw too many people, but it's actually getting some decent views. So you never know.
That one surprised me too. Yeah, that one. That was the movie was good. There was probably, if there was anything closest to negative, like I'm not gonna say it was super negative, but it is not for the faint of heart, and I was okay with it. But in any case, like it was like when you're driving along and you accidentally pop over the curb and you feel that kind of that judder, that shudder through the car. That's kind of how it was watching. But okay, well, we're in this, and you had 4-1 before that. But aside from that, that's probably the darkest movie I've seen in a very long time. Which is a quality of its own. Should you be not sensitive to that, but in any case, we've had Dune, and I guess we can get rolling here on what's going on. And was there anything you wanted to lead off with in particular?
I know you didn't get to see it, but I wanted to mention because we teased it with our preview that we're going to maybe speak a little bit about Barbarian. It's out on HBO Max now. So if you have HBO Max, you could just dial it up and watch it for free or with your subscription. I hate when people say you can watch it for free because you're not watching it for free. You're watching it with your subscription. So for you, Mike, and everybody in the audience that may have not have seen it yet, it's one of those movies that going in, it's better to not know what it's about. The whole thing. Basically, it starts out with a woman that's she's going for an interview, and she's got an Airbnb, and she shows up to the Airbnb, and someone else is in the house, and she gets in, she knocks on the door and finds out that the guy as well is has registered for that same Airbnb for that same day or same night. So they're trying to figure out what's going on, and things get progressively crazier from there. That's all I'll get into. As far as it's a really good, solid horror movie. It's smart in that it kind of takes all those tropes and ideas that you have about the stupid stuff that people do in horror movies, and she starts off in the movie doing everything smartly. So you're like, oh, okay, all right. Well, that's smart. That's smart. A smart thing to do. That's another smart thing to do. So yeah,
Right
it
on.
kind of puts it on its head. It's also done by one of the guys, Zach Greg Greger or something, I think his name. One of the guys from that comedy troupe on AFC from a long while back, the Whitest Kids, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, Zach Kreger. Yeah, he's the writer and director of it.
Okay.
So it is funny at times, obviously. I think this is his first horror movie. But it's kind of in the vein of a social horror movie, sort of like what Jordan Peele's doing with his horror movies that are horror movies but have kind of a social bent to them that you can read a little bit further into. And this movie is kind of got that vibe too, whereas Jordan Peele kind of plays with kind of race relations a little bit with his movies. This one kind of plays around with the Me Too kind of controversies, and who you could trust and who you can't trust. But yeah, it does a really good job of kind of playing around with that. And also our pals at Red Letter Media beat us to it and did a full review of it. I think it came out this past Monday. So, and they do a good job of kind of breaking down the movie as well. So, if you've seen the movie and want to get a deeper discussion than we're going to have here today, then kind of check theirs out. Now, don't check theirs out if you hadn't seen it yet, because they go deep into spoilers.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I did see their material in so far as their the one before that. I had kind of seen keep an eye on. I don't watch every single thing they do, like most of everything on YouTube. But if there's a interest there or whatever. But then you had mentioned this, and I tried to make some time, but I just didn't get it out to
Yeah.
see it. But I definitely will be following up and seeing it this weekend for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely
Uh,
a smart horror movie. It's been a really good year for horror movies. You got Barbarian.
oh yeah,
We also checked out Hellraiser, which was really good. The reboot of Hellraiser was really good. And yeah, I know
yeah.
last year we didn't do like a year in review, but we might do something like that this year. I know it's hard to do because we do a mix of old and new stuff. So
Well,
um,
I think what might be for ours, and we're planning here as we do it on the fly here, but I definitely could see us doing like your movie pick of the year that we've
mhm,
seen together, and
mhm.
one because I already have a couple like top five from what we've reviewed from the body of work that we've done,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and like I gotta say, probably my one of my more favorite months was October, like when we just kind of slid into the standard
Hmm.
horror movies because like that
Hmm.
really cracked open my interest for it.
Hmm.
And thanks to you,
Yep.
but there's a there was like a string of like really good horror movies that we
Uh-huh.
covered that were just
Hmm.
like just damn good. There's just no
Yeah.
way to put it, in my opinion, obviously,
Right.
but for
Yeah,
sure.
and I didn't go with the tried and true stuff that everybody pulls out every October. I try to mix it up with some stuff, some brand new stuff, and stuff that I've seen for uh a long while back. But yeah, actually, I think everything that we watched was within the past 5 years or so. 5 years to
Yeah,
present. So yeah,
I think
we didn't pull out anything old.
no, I think the oldest movie that we had watched from that time period was Ex Machina. I think that was like from 2014 or something. I don't know, whatever it was, but
Yeah, yeah.
that was probably the oldest one. But everything else was like, holy crap! Like I definitely found some favorite new directors. That's for damn sure. But in any case, yeah,
Yep.
go and see Barbarian. And that would be a recommend. I would assume from you for sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Like I said, it's a smart movie. There, the ending is I kind of have a little bit of a issue with, but obviously won't go into that there. But yeah, it's a
Justin
definite.
Long.
Yeah, definitely to watch.
It's good. Yeah, and I'm a sucker for HBO Max anyway, so there is that. But moving on
Yeah,
from that,
yeah.
anything.
Every time I go into HBO Max, like with Barbarian, and I start looking at what it recommends, is like, oh yeah, I want to watch that. I want to watch that.
No,
Yeah.
that's how I am too. Unfortunately, that it's not the only other app that's true of for me, or platform, I should say, not app, is YouTube. Like I can always find something on YouTube to watch. But HBO Max is like the next best thing for me because I don't know about you, but like when I have the subscription active, I'll go on Hulu or Netflix or whatever, mainly Netflix, and like I'll like scroll forever.
Yeah.
And I just what HBO Max, I don't know what it is, and their app's still kind of, it's gotten better. It's gotten actually a lot better over the last couple of years,
Yeah.
because it used to be just dog crap slow, just horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I even had it
Mhm,
hang up on my Android TV NVIDIA Shield thing, like where, and
mhm.
that's a pretty stout device, but it would just
Right.
hang. And it's like, what are you doing?
Mhm.
I want to watch something. Like, why are you making it hard? Anyway, sorry, go on.
Yeah, yeah, the HBO Max. Yeah, the only bad thing is, yeah, it does know how to recommend what you want to see, but as far as yeah, I've run into some issues with it. Like when I started watching House of the Dragons, I was like, what in the heck's going on with the audio? And I think I told you like the English was turned on, but also the Czechoslovakian Czech language was checked as well. So I
Yeah,
had a doubling of voices, and yeah. So yeah, I've run into a little bit of quirks with that. Whereas Netflix, I think, has got it figured out as far as apps go. But
oh yeah, that
yeah,
they're on. The other thing that I'm just so lazy is I had to do a reset on my Shield, and I could sign in from my phone or whatever. Like what's really cool, if the app people are out there or whatever, is when you download the app on whatever device, Apple TV or Shield or Android TV or whatever, or Xbox, usually they're pretty smart about like understanding, hey, you have a controller or a remote. You're not going to be able to put in a username and password, so they'll have like a really cool link that you can just zip over to and sign in, and it'll check you in. And
yeah.
Netflix has that down pat, YouTube, but HBO Max, I still have yet to sign into my HBO Max on my Shield because I am not getting the keyboard. I don't know about you, but my passwords are all randomly generated and
Mhm.
saved in a password manager, and I don't deal with like
Yeah.
I'm not going to put a 32 character password and using a remote. Like I'm not
Right.
doing that. But
Yeah.
anyway, I'll
Yeah.
kvetch aside. Go watch
Yeah.
Barbarian. That's a recommendation from us, and I
Mhm.
will be catching up with my thoughts on it next show or next grab bag at the latest.
Yep.
But anyway, moving
Yeah.
on. Anything else to add or subtract from that?
No, I think we covered it. But yeah, so yeah, if you catch it, maybe we could get a little bit into spoilers and whatnot with it, and
I'd
because
like that.
it's a fun one to talk about, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Like it's got fun. It's got fun actors in it too, for
Mhm.
sure.
Yep.
Any what's the next item you wanted to cover for us to go on here?
I think yeah, and again, if you're new here, well, this is our grab bag. So we talk about a bunch of all sorts of little things. Our podcast that we do on either Sunday or Monday, it's our deep dive into either one or two movies that we spotlight. Whereas the grab bag, we just talk about a bunch of random stuff. We talk about the news. We talk about our recommendations, and the recommendations could cover movies, TV, comic books, whatever fancies us. We throw out there. We also have some segments that we do periodically. If we have something we want to speak passionately about, we'll jump up on our soapbox and speak out. And we borrowed that lovingly from Stan Lee. He had a his soapbox column in our comic book. So yeah, where he would speak his mind. So so we borrowed it from him, and then we also have our cringe quarter, where we spotlight anything that we find cringy on the internet or out in the world of entertainment or whatnot. So yeah, we've had a couple of badges of dishonor to hand out in the cringe corner. But yeah, let's maybe jump into the news. I think you had some. I know I had a few different news items to cover.
Yeah,
Um,
I can cover the one that I brought to the table real quick. It's just like a silly little publicity thing that they wrote an article on. Basically, the first poster of Shazam 2, released by Warner Brothers, that's coming out in the fall in 2023. That I think that's going to be the first big heavy hitter after Black Adam, to kind of jumpstart things. And if you're not familiar, Black Adam had a mid-credit scene where a very famous superhero was reintroduced. And it definitely caused some waves, especially from the aspect of Zaslav taking over Warner Brothers and everything therein, HBO Max, all that stuff. I think they're actually going to make a change to HBO Max and merge them and Discovery Plus something. There's supposed to be like some new app coming out at some point. But I just thought this was wholesome and fun. I hope to be able to go see Black Adam if it's still playing in the theaters with my kiddos, but for sure, we saw the first Shazam, and we'll see Shazam 2 in the theater for sure, because that was like one that they really liked and enjoyed. So anyway, it's just a silly little thing here. They had the poster Fury of the Gods, and I think it's him walking with yeah. They had the poster here, like with it's very kind of down to earth and like a little bit more lighthearted and whatnot. But that's all I just wanted to say. But it's coming around the corner, and it's going to be here sooner than not. But anyway, moving on from that, looks like you had Mr. Del Toro's
yeah, this is
cabinet.
yeah, Cabinet of Curiosities. Yeah, that's one of my recommends. This is on Netflix. Guillermo del Toro's, or the famous movie director. He did some movies you might know, like he did the second Hellblade, or not Hellblade, Blade. He did the Hellboy, Hellboy and its sequel. He did the um, my mind's drawing a blank. He did Pan's Labyrinth. He's done a number of horror movies. So he's doing a sort of a anthology of horror with various different horror directors and from various countries. And it's 8 episodes. I've watched the first 2 episodes. But yeah, if and he introduces each episode sort of like like Rod Steiger from the Twilight Zone. So yeah, and he has this big cabinet that he pulls out an item that's shown in each of the episodes. And but yeah, they're fun. They're about an hour each. Some are based off of old horror stories, and some are written new to the series. But yeah, the first 2 I've seen were really good. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of them. But they're well acted, well shot, and if you like your horror in an anthology, bite-sized sort of stories, this is a great way to still enjoy the horror even after Halloween.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, he is a body of work that is very good. And I know exactly what you're talking about as far as like his works. And let's dig in a little bit. Good grief.
Yeah,
I know.
Shape of Water. I was trying to think of. He won
Yeah,
the Oscar for that.
that was good. That was actually good.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that. It was one of the ones, The Hobbit too. That was good. I saw that in the theaters. To kind of play up Rings of Power that's out currently on Amazon Prime. Should you want a little bit more thing, Hellboy, I love that one. And Hellboy 2 as well. Mimic, no, I haven't seen Mimic. But I've heard it's good. Anyway, moving on. We had so Chris Farley. I know you're a pretty big Chris Farley fan, just like most folks are in our generation, for sure. But what's this? What's this one about?
It looks like his brother's making a graphic novel about Chris Farley. So should have looks like it's going to cover his life even early on, which his brother would intimately know about. So yeah, it looks like if you're a big Farley fan, this might be something that might tickle your fancy. The comic book company that's putting it out, I'm not familiar with, so it may be a kind of a smaller press thing. But yeah, it looks like from the cover, the art looks pretty decent. So yeah, I thought I'd throw that out there for. I know we've covered SNL occasionally, and yeah.
Yeah, which there's a very famous comedian that played last weekend, Dave Chappelle. So I think that's out there. Haven't seen it because I stopped watching SNL for a long time, but
Oh yeah.
this one might be one to check out. But moving on to so there's a little bit of drama. There's always a little bit of drama with the the original series cast that has been out there for decades. I know that for sure. But this one was about was somebody picking a fight with him? Because I saw a headline about this with George Takei or something like that, or something like where he would always badmouth Shatner
Yeah.
whenever he got a chance, something along those lines.
Yeah, I think this is from like a interview that Shatner did recently, where they mentioned how the former castmates, especially George Takei, have badmouthed him in the press, and like I think the latest one was he was saying that they shouldn't have been putting the um, Shatner up into space with the when he went up there because he wasn't well and I don't know what all. I think it all kind of goes back to jealousy. And I mainly put this article up just to show you that no matter how old you are, people can still act like kids. and, Shatner's in the article it says he's 91, and I think George Takei has got to be around there somewhere, at least in his 80s. So yeah, the whole bad feelings, and I think Shatner's kind of he's mostly taken the high road for most of it. And he also said that he's gone on to do all sorts of various TV series, and it only seems to be the Star Trek cast that has had bad things to say about him. None of the other cast members of any of his other series have made any bad squabbles. But and Shatner was young then, so maybe he was a bit of an ass. But between the Star Trek and now, I would imagine that people have grown and have changed. So there's no reason to hold on. There's no reason to hold on to bitterness from a series from from the 60s.
Right. Come on, guys. Yeah, no, and the only reason why I brought up like a little bonus there, like he did a podcast with Bill Maher, and Bill Maher's podcast on YouTube or whatever, it's called Random. I actually watched most of it. It was pretty cool because he kind of talks about the early years and kind of how he has kind of gone on, and how he was never quite really in the in Hollywood's good graces per se, because he definitely has an opinion. But I think the thing about William Shatner is that he definitely values his private, normal life, as normal as you can as a celebrity, over some of the always on type celebrities and whatnot. So he's definitely he's always been out there a little bit in opinionated, but not like edgy or anything like that. Nowhere near like what we are in today's society with edgy things as they were. But yeah, he's I do enjoy like watching him on podcasts or interviews. He's always fun. And I think there was I'm not gonna pull it up, but like where him and Bezos, like when he did go up to space, Bezos was like trying to like get Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon, was trying to get him to be like right, Bill, or something like that, and William Shatner was like in a whole other world.
Yeah. Yeah. And and Shatner, if you're out there, we're always willing to give you an interview. So
We would love to
yeah.
have William Shatner on here with our little low rent, a very fun fandom nerddom podcast for sure. But moving on, more into modern territory. James Gunn
he
is
can.
turning.
Yeah, Shatner can come on and tell us to get a life. We'll listen to you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, he can absolutely tell me that I'm an abject failure, and that what are you doing with your life, bud? No, I'm kidding. He would never do that. But, moving on, James Gunn is falling into his role as co-CEO or whatever the hell his title is, more comfortably, I think. Hope springs eternal. That this turns into good things. But what's this one about?
Yeah, he's putting out polls there, asking fans. I believe it's on Twitter. He was asking what they would like to see as far as in the DC universe and future film ideas, and they asked him after he got all the submissions and whatnot, what he thought, and jokingly, or at least hopefully jokingly, he said there wasn't enough Batmite suggestions. So. So you may see the Batmite movie coming out if James Gunn is actually being serious.
Indeed.
But yeah, no, it's a good show on James Gunn. He is actually instead of going against it and telling fans what they want, he's asking them what they want, and that's a good sign. Also, I think in this article, or maybe it's another one I saw, he said Kevin Feige said that he's cool with James Gunn taking over on DC. Said as long as he remembers he's got 2 more films put out in the Marvel universe, and and then he said once that's done and he's off into DC, that he would be the first one in line to see his DC movie. So
very collegiate of him to say that. Kevin Feige, of course, that's one of Disney's talking heads. But for sure, and what Thomas was this fan baiting is definitely a phenomenon nowadays, like where studios or so and so would pick a fight with the fans, the fandom, the nerddom, and we both are very staunchly against this. And it's not about that, and it's not always about negativity. So, at the end of the day, I don't want the studios to listen to the fans 100% of the time, because that would be horrible, and they would produce even worse garbage. But at the same time, there's a balance point there, and good on James Gunn for knowing that, and he has done several movies that understand that very well. Whatever the material is that he's directing or writing on or whatnot, he understands it. So hopefully we'll continue to get good. We'll actually have something to grab onto for DC that just doesn't go away. That's entirely dependent upon like a Snyderverse, because like I've heard. My God, my friend, I have heard Snyderverse about 1 million billion times since James Gunn has taken over, and it's just like that was cool, and we actually covered it, and it was fine for what it was, but like time marches on.
Right. Well, and then there's the Snyder army out there that we don't want to garner the ire of them, because they seem to go out and destroy. So, but as far as fan baiting and whatnot, that just circle back around the Barbarian, because I was thinking about that. It had the potential of becoming preachy with the social aspect of it, but it does a great job. It never becomes preachy. Everything in it is it's not told to you, it's shown to you, and you're the one. They treat you like a smart person and let you draw your own conclusion as far as what you draw from it. And that was very smart of them. Instead of you know taking a kind of a social thing and telling you what you need to think about it, they kind of played around with it and let you think about it. But yeah, that's the other little stinger I'll throw out there for the movie and its pros, as so to speak.
Very cool. Very cool. Awesome. Awesome. Excuse me. Moving on to I think we're into the comic book. Well, actually, I think I'm going to do before we hit the comic books. I'll hit a little bit more of the news articles here.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this past week we said goodbye to three legendary people within the comic book and animated realm. Unfortunately, Kevin O'Neill passed away. He's best known for being the artist of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. He was I collected all of those I think I got all of them, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and comic books. And those comic books, that art that he put into very very iconic, and very, when you saw it, you knew it was League. And his art style was very very distinct and very very detailed and beautiful, and not like any other artist I've seen before. Maybe a little bit like Mobius in maybe the detail and the fine work that he does, but it's very much his own style.
Sucks. It always sucks to lose such legendary creators, and we are always pro creators. That came out wrong. We are always pro creator for things, as it were, for comic books and movies and screenplays and novels and all that, all the wonderful things that are in the nerddom.
Yeah. And when we start talking about the big blockbuster Marvel, Disney Marvel, or DC movie, we sometimes forget the blood, sweat, and tears that the artists and writers put out into it in the comic books. And oftentimes, when those big blockbusters come out, they aren't maybe compensated to the extent that they should be.
No.
Without their ideas and art, we wouldn't have the big blockbusters that we do have nowadays. So yeah,
there is. Unfortunately, there is some deep and abiding exploitation even after the fact. And I think we've covered it here or there piecemeal, but essentially the so and so will die and the estate will come in, and if they want a few more shekels, they'll go to court and then they'll renegotiate something, some such thing. But that, unfortunately, that sucks, but it's part of our thing. But boy, when there was a gulf of big corporate world, that they did exploit the hell out of certain creators for sure.
Yeah, and they're always that's one of the bad things about the big corporate world. They find the loopholes and try to cinch them up. Sort of like with J.K. Rowling, I recently learned that they started putting in theme park clauses into contracts now because of her, because because of the big Universal Studios theme park. They have a whole section on Harry Potter, and she rakes up the big bucks from that. And now they who knew when she was publishing Harry Potter that it would eventually lead to a huge theme park. So now they put in those clauses just in case.
Right on. Yeah, and I to piggyback on that onto the Zaslav James Gunn that we had previously covered today was the fact that Zaslav is not above, and I think he had a quarterly phone call, stockbroker or stock thing, their earnings call. That's what it was, and he mentioned something about doing more with Harry Potter, which I am not necessarily a true blue fan per se. But there's a lot of folks out there that love that. But I had heard that they expanded Universal Studios and whatnot, and that was a big grab, catch-all. But moving on.
And before we and then also one last thing, on Harry Potter, since we're on it.
Sure.
I'm a big Potter fan, but the next February they're coming out with Hogwarts Legacy video game,
Oh,
and
heard about that.
it's they were going through and showing off all the houses in the castle, and it man, it looks really good. I'll definitely be playing that. So yeah, that's. I think we have unfortunately have a couple more passing aways to get to. Unfortunately, yep. And we had Kevin Conroy. I think most of fandom was talking about it. I know my Facebook kind of blew up with various people talking about his passing. So he was very much loved as the voice of Batman on the animated series and also on the video games. I did not, you know what? I did not watch any of the animated series when it came out. I know I'm a huge comic book guy, but as far as animated stuff, I always knew that for the most part, animated stuff, I'd been burned before. I was used to GI Joe and He Man not being what being kind of milk toast as compared to what's actually in comic books. But I hear now that the animated series was actually really well written and actually good. So I know that that's all on HBO Max. So I plan on going back and watching the series because I falsely lumped it into those mindless cartoons of the past. So so I'll have to check it out.
And that's not unfair. I'm not going to claim to have watched every episode from Jump Street for sure, but I will claim to have watched quite a bit. And I do recall Mark Hamill being the voice of the Joker, and pretty well done. Every episode that I ever saw of that, and I have not seen them categorically from beginning to end, but I did catch a few, and there is a level of quality there that is pretty incredible. And I have fallen into the YouTube rabbit hole of of watching like kind of behind the scenes and documentary type aspects of that. I've consumed quite a bit of that. But this sucks. This was a very good, well done series for animated. Very unusual because, like you say, it is true. A lot of animated things are just kind of like deleted, move on. But the Batman the animated series was something that was quite unique, and I definitely have jumped into a couple of the Arkham titles. There's so many of them, but I did play a few, and they're for a brawler, and for what they were pretty fun.
Yeah,
just good quality all around.
Yeah, I think I played all of them. I didn't. I finished all of them except for Batman Origins. We got towards the end boss, and my nephews were with me, and we all tried to. I don't know if it was the end boss or the one of the bosses to the end, but none of us could beat them. So I was like, I know my reflexes aren't up to snuff, being a boomer and everything. So I handed it off to the kids, and they couldn't do it either. So I felt I felt like okay. So we never beat that, and then I just never finished Arkham City. I really enjoyed it. But it's one of those where I found something else to start playing and went on. But those first two Arkham games I did play through and finish. So
those are fun ones that you can just throw in and just jump in and play. You don't have to know deep back level thing. Those are the fun video games. At least at my boomer age as well. Like where you can just kind of jump in and just start playing, and you don't have to worry about a whole rigmarole around it. But anyway, moving on to the other fellow who passed away this past week.
Yeah, Carlos. I probably butcher his last name, Pacheco. But yeah, he's He was one of the artists behind Avengers Forever and X-Men. I know him from X-Men. I wasn't a big Avengers fan back in the day, so but yeah, I read many of a comic book that he was the artist for, and he was one of those names. I know some people, some comic book fans, they just follow a character, like they just read Spider-Man, but I also would follow artists and writers. So anytime I saw his name in the credits page for a comic book, I was excited to see
Good,
his
good.
art. I was more of a follower follower of writers, but if you had a bad artist for a comic book, it would, even if it was a great writer, it would kind of pain me sometimes. It's like, oh, why wasn't a better artist on this? And he was always one of those great artists to where if he was paired with a really good writer, then you were in for a fun ride. And even if he even if the writer wasn't up to snuff, you knew the art would be.
Awesome, awesome.
Yep.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
So yeah, we lost those three. I know. They say bad things or deaths happen in threes, so maybe
It's
we're
true.
covered. Maybe we won't have to say goodbye to anyone here for a while. But yeah, that was kind of hard hitting. Every day it was like another person had passed, and it was very very sad.
Indeed, indeed. Moving on to comic book series. This one we got a couple Indiegogos,
Yep.
Kickstarters, if you will, as the
Hmm.
Kleenex brand name, so to speak. But what's this one from?
Yeah, so this one's called Fiendish. Again, this is Indiegogo. If you're out there and you're not sure what Indiegogo is, it's sort of like Kickstarter. Basically, you're paying for a book that's in production. It's not completed. It will be. So this is basically a way to fund the book to make sure it gets out and published. And there's always a risk. There are some, there has been, even with comic books, there's been some where they collected the money and never produced the book. Um, but with this one, with Fiendish, I'm um kind of recommending it basically on the art. This is volume two. In this one, you can actually order the volume one and two to catch up to both. But the artist is written and drawn by the same person, Rini. I forget her last name, but she was an artist on Marvel. Yeah, I'm not even gonna try her last name, but I've seen her. Yeah,
Shrekowski or something like.
yeah. Irene, she goes by Rini. She's been on. I've seen her on a few different podcasts and streams. She's very personable. And it's she seems to have a really really great attitude about things, and the art is really good. On it. And like I said, I haven't read the first volume, but just kind of going through the art and her telling the story about it. It seems pretty interesting. It's a fantasy series, and she's actually gotten really deep into it. She has some I guess what you call Bibles, as far as about the language and about
Okay.
the and if you scroll further down, these are like alternate covers, so it's not really her art, but yeah, these interior pages gives you a better idea of what her art is like. But yeah, she's gotten real deep into the language of her fantasy world, and the history, and um, the geography. So it's a kind of a sign of a good writer that J.R. Tolkien has done this, where you kind of dig into and really get to understand the world that it's taking place in. So whenever you're writing your story, it's sort of like second nature of knowing what's going on and where everything is placed. So you're not, just making up things as you go. But yeah, I was really impressed. I really want to kind of fund this and I'm kind of interested in seeing where this all goes.
That's very cool. Very cool. Cool. And moving on to this one, I saw this one when you shared it in our private chat,
Hmm.
and I saw this, and I was like, "Oh man, I got to check this one out."
Yep. But yeah. Oh, and I don't know if I said, but the Fiendish, like I said, Volume One's already been out and published, so
Right,
I
right.
feel good recommending this because since she's already proven a track record of getting the comic books out, that this Volume Two will come out too. And then so yeah, the first kill that we're talking about. Uh, Going back, I'm sorry, I kind of tripped us up.
Yep.
But yeah, this is going to be Rambo's first tour of duty in Vietnam. It's going to be written by Sylvester Stallone himself with Chuck Dixon. And I believe it starts off him in high school being a football player and going on into his first tour in Vietnam. So yeah, it should be pretty interesting. He did write a story already with Chuck Dixon, which the this same publisher or person has published of Expendables. They did a Expendables comic book a year or two ago, and so this is the guy that's getting this printed and out there has done several graphic novels. So and he has a proven track record of getting those books out and getting them out on time. So I have no worries about recommending this and worried about anyone not getting their comic because this I think it's already been written and it has been mostly drawn, if not completed drawn. So they're and it's projected to come out in June of next year.
Okay, very
Uh,
cool. Yeah, no, this is one to watch. That it's going to go on my short list for sure.
yeah.
And then
Oh,
going
and
on. Oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, and to just to piggyback on Sylvester Stallone, I did watch. He has a new TV series, Tulsa Kings, on Paramount, which I watched. The first episode came out last Sunday. It's a fun show. It's co-created by Taylor Sheridan and Terrence Winters. Taylor Sheridan has done co-created Yellowstone, which is my mom's favorite show, and then Terrence Winter is well known for working on Sopranos and being the creator of Borderwalk Empire. Boardwalk Empire, and so yeah, you got some great people behind you. The first episode was fun. There's a couple of points where you kind of have to suspend your disbelief a little bit. So it's kind of it's fun. Sylvester Stallone's personality sort of carries the show. Martin Starr from Silicon Valley, if you've seen that show, he's he was one of the characters in that. He's really funny. He plays a weed store owner, a marijuana store owner. So that gets caught up with Sylvester Stallone's character. But yeah, it's really fun. Yeah, I spent Sunday after watching that. I also dived into Beavis and Butthead. They have a TV series on Paramount, and I watched the movie that came out last summer that they put out on Paramount, and it was okay. So I wasn't very gung ho on watching the show, but I thought, well, since I'm already on Paramount, let's throw on a Beavis and Butthead episode, and I watched them, and they are very funny. If you're
Good.
at all in, if you're at all interested in Beavis and Butthead, it's well worth watching. At least, and then I think there's like 10 or 12 episodes. I watched a couple of them. If you remember the old Beavis and Butthead show, they in between the cartoons they would show music videos and kind of make fun of those. Well, they still have the music videos that they make fun of and do a do a very funny job of it. But also in their arsenal, they throw in YouTube videos and TikTok
TikTok.
videos
Yep, that's
where
what
they make
I
fun of. Mhm.
Yeah, I'd read. I watched a couple of things, but I'm so busy, I just didn't get
Hmm.
back around to it. But that's good to know for sure.
Hmm. Yeah.
Very cool.
So yeah, if you're looking for something funny to watch, Beavis and Butthead, and if you like Beavis and Butthead, and I know some people don't, then you're in store for a good time. Again, I'm kind of late coming to it, so it may be old news for most of people, but if not, yeah, it's a recommend.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, bringing us to the caboose of comic book stuff. I saw this, and I want to say that you might have mentioned this like way ahead of time.
Hmm.
Could be wrong on that one, but
Uh,
I saw this and it looked very compelling. It's a Sabretooth and the Exiles #1. Basically, it's the Krakatoa storyline where they imprisoned certain mutants. They broke out and they actually found something even worse. This kind of falls along the line of Sabretooth being a little bit more um, pivotal, but I haven't cracked this open yet. I wanted to buy this, but it looked pretty dang interesting to me. So we'll see what
and
happens. So, did you have
yeah.
anything to add to this one, or
Yeah, so it got a 9.5. Well, it is Wednesday, and that's if you know it's comic book day.
it
And I did
is?
go to the comic book shop. I didn't go last week, so I had a big stack, and within that stack, I have looky here.
Look
I
at
have
that!
Sabretooth and
Perfect
the
timing.
Exiles. Yep. So yeah, I haven't read it. It's you know what? The way I kind of stack out my comic books, I put my the ones I want to read most at the front, but then and then kind of put the ones kind of further back, the ones I don't I still like because I would still be I still collect it because but I kind of have a hierarchy, but I want to save something really good for last, so I always throw my X-Men's at the bottom. So that's where it's at right now. So I'll get to it either tonight or tomorrow. But yeah, I'll definitely be reading it. But yeah, the further back my comic books go, they get on the maybe to be fired list that I might have to ax them if I don't like them. Like I had to cancel my pulls on New Mutants. That they have a new writer on that, and oh boy, it's ooh. Now the writer before that, a lot of people don't like Vita Viola. But I actually enjoyed her run on the New Mutants. It wasn't the best, but I liked. She had a lot of the characters that I liked from the original run of the New Mutants. And I guess with my I just wanting to read more about them kind of kept me going with that. But with this new writer, she introduced this new character that could I don't even really know how her powers work, but she can kind of assume other people's powers or whatever.
Okay.
And then her friend um has the ability to make stuff out of make things into chocolate. I don't know. It just
Okay.
it just
All
wasn't
right.
just wasn't compelling. And then she was also palling around with the newer New Mutants, and I don't have any connection with them. And yeah, the story was horrendous.
Yeah.
Wasn't good at all, so I had to
Yeah.
drop it.
The thing that drew me to this one was Sabretooth. And I always
Yep.
kind of even when I loved the X-Men and Wolverine growing up and whatnot, I always had him and Omega Red. I would always try to, if I saw it, I would always try to read it. But
Yeah.
there's something about this that definitely caught my attention that I hope it's good, and I'm sure it is, but we'll
Yeah.
see for sure.
Yeah. And this is actually a sequel. He did another series. Let's see who that the writer on it is actually Victor Lavelle. He's also a novelist as well.
Okay.
I haven't read his book, but one of his books I do have it on my Kindle. I do have it. But yeah, the first series basically Sabretooth was one of those was a bad guy that the Krakoa couldn't doesn't kill any of the any mutants, so they were wondering what to do with Sabretooth because he's a bad guy. What do you do with the bad guy? So what they did was threw him into a tree, into this void, this black void, and so he was kind of trapped in his own head. And they threw in a few other prisoners that are on that cover. He kind of lords over them in his void, and they eventually, with the help of a mutant, which I won't reveal who because it's a spoiler, they break out from their prison. And this is I believe will be their adventures on the outside world and the shenanigans they get up to. But yeah, and you're looking at Victor Lavelle's books. But yeah, and
bibliography. Yep, this is like from the start to the finish, or whatever order it has it. Well, they're actually not in chronological order, but they're just 3 pages of whatever that I started scrolling through. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah. I think if you go to that first page, I think it'll show the I think it. The Ballad of Black Tom is the one that I have that came highly recommended. So I'll get around to reading it. It's a very short book. It's 150 pages. So, but yeah, he's I think he kind of has sort of, from what I understand, I may be misremembering, but it has sort of like a Lovecraftian kind of flavor to it.
Sure.
If I remember correctly. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like I said, I haven't read the book yet.
That's what it's reading and tracking as. For sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah.
And that brings us up to one of the YouTube things to do a segue here, kind of pulling it back to our show and also our main show. If you have followed along this long, we thank you very much. We'd love to hear. Like, subscribe, comment, thumbs up, thumbs down, all good. Even better if we could hear from you. But in last week, this week we covered Dune. And with that being said, Tom has a very special YouTube treasure that he found regarding and all therein. And what? So this is this his official YouTube?
Yeah, this is his YouTube channel, David Lynch Theater. But so when when the quarantine happened, when the coof took place, he back a couple of years ago, he started he started doing daily post. Every day he'll post the weather and today's special number. He'll draw the special number. So if you if you want to know what the lucky number of the day is, David Lynch got you covered. And if you're if you're near where Lynch lives and you want to know what the weather's like, I believe it's in California somewhere, he'll let you know what the weather's like.
Today is 72 degrees. Today is 68 degrees. Today is 72 degrees again.
So yeah, I thought I've got his. I've watched it a couple of times. It's David Lynch being David Lynch. But yeah, it's, if you want a little bit of David Lynch every day, all the videos are like either a minute or a minute and a half. So yeah, if you want to just get your daily fix on David Lynch, that's there for you. And if you want even more, he's got tons and tons of videos. He's got 2 years worth of videos. So and then I believe he has some of his older videos are some of his more experimental videos that he did. I know he used this channel. I know he had a davidlynch.com back in the day where he would post little short films and whatnot. I believe some of those are there if you get past all of the weather and numbers thing. But I thought I'd recommend that since we covered Dune on this past Sunday. and he was fresh on my mind.
Very, very cool. He is, as the audience should know, very eccentric, and in his own league, to say the least. And with that being said, I think that brings us up to the end of our grab bag.
Yep. Oh, and I did have one other thing. I was just going to catch up on what I'm currently reading. Let's see. It's on my handy Kindle, so I have to get it yeah.
Oh, and speaking of the Kindle, they actually had a new thing. They haven't had a new paper, or what do they call them? The paperweight or whatever.
Paperweight, yeah.
Or what? Yeah, whatever the hell it is. But they're coming out with a new one that you can jot notes down on, called the Scribe or whatever.
Oh, okay.
I am hesitantly optimistic while you pull up your list there. But who knows? I have the Remarkable 2, and I like it. I would just say that it's a racket for all these things for $100 plus accessory or whatever, some crap or whatever. But with that being said, we can pivot to your list here.
Right. Let's see. Yeah, I got I picked up a handful of books on the cheap, but the one I was going to tell you about, as I'm reading currently, is Garth Marenghi's Terror Tome. I don't know if you're familiar with Garth Marenghi. Nope. He's a fictional character. So this is a fictional character's book. Basically, yeah. So yeah, there was a British TV series called Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, which is sort of a meta within a meta. It's the Garth Marenghi is sort of like a Stephen King type character that writes horror novels, and he also wrote and directed and starred in a horror show called Dark Places, and Garth Marenghi's Dark Places. Basically, it was filmed in the 2000s, and it's a pretend TV series from the 80s. And so it's basically they've rediscovered the tapes, and Garth Marenghi's introducing the lost episodes with interviews and whatnot. And so yeah, it's very funny. It's got Matt Berry, which is he's from various different British comedy shows, like American one that he's done recently is What We Do in the Shadows, but very, very funny show. Right. Like I said, it came out in the 2000s, and I forget what channel. Well, I was on one of the BBC channels in England, but they aired it here. I believe it was on Adult Swim. So I think that's where I caught it on. But I got also got the British DVD. But I would have got the actual book for the Terror Tome, but I guess since it's a British book, they were only offering here in America the Kindle version of it. So that's what I got. I could have brought the big bucks and got on the Amazon UK and got the paperback, but it would took me a month to get it because it would be coming from the UK. So it's like, okay, I'll get the Kindle version. I might later on get the actual paperback. But yeah, so the fictional character, I believe the actor that wrote and starred in the original series wrote this book in the guise of Garth Marenghi. So far, it's been very funny. But it's about an author that finds an evil cursed typewriter, and decides that it'll that will meld with his mind and write the ultimate horror novel. But it goes a bit awry. So to speak.
I can see why that would be on Adult Swim, and that genre. Not necessarily what you're saying, but like why that would be a repeat or featured on Adult Swim.
Yeah,
they'd have very eclectic things.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it
So cool.
fit right in with Adult Swim. But yeah, I
Right
also
on.
got a couple of short stories collections by a couple different authors that I hadn't read before, but looked very enticing. So
Very cool.
might speak on those later as well. But
Very
yeah,
cool. Yeah.
I think we got to the bottom of the grab bag once again, like you said,
Yeah,
and
and that reminds me too. I finished up a couple of more not sci-fi show or sci-fi book on Audible, but they're a vampire series that I
mhm,
kind of stumbled into. That's in the line of World War Z, but for vampires and modern day kind of sort of thing.
mhm.
Very good. Very very well done. And I'll if I can remember that, I'll cover it next week. But I'm almost to the end of like the third or fourth one that
Mhm.
I've consumed. But in any case, that brings us up to the show, our grab bag. I think we're closing it back up, and we'll have definitely more content coming up next week. And stay tuned. But this past week was really special for us. We covered our 1 year doing this thing, and we're only going to get better with time. And maybe one day we'll figure out a better way than Zoom to do our thing. But you know what? It works, and if it works, you should stick with it. So, and what
Mhm.
we've been doing has worked. And at some point, probably along the lines of the new year, we'll bring back our third show. But with that, we were thinking that we would want to do something along the lines of something that had like a comic book or a book, and also like kind of the other media they're in, and then kind of compare and contrast that sort of thing. But we're still developing that, but stay tuned because
Mhm.
there's more content that we're coming up with, and we'd love to hear from you. The first last nerdum.
Mhm.
We're here we're here for the passion and the fandom, the nerdum as it were, and we would love to hear from you. If you want to come on the show, we would love to have you as a
Mhm.
special guest. Maybe
Yep.
you have some kind of a thing that you like to cover or have insight into that
Yep.
me and Thomas only approach the water's edge, so to speak. But regardless, we'd
Mhm.
love to hear
Yeah.
from you.
Yep. Yeah, and we've just covered what we're into. Obviously, we're not going to branch off into something we know nothing about, but our goal is to cover all of nerddom. So that's and our only way to do that outside of getting into everything is to invite people on to expose something that to us something that we're not familiar with. So say if you're way into Pokemon cards and want to introduce us into your world of collecting those and the ins and outs, I kind of find that fascinating.
Sure.
In if you're me and Mike are very boomers when it comes to video games. So if you're way into video games and want to get on and school us on video games, that's cool too. But yeah,
Yeah,
whatever you.
yeah, and I was going to say along those things we've had in the on the docket forever, doing like a live stream with that. One of these Saturdays, we'll probably randomly bump into it and do like a thing. But in any case, we welcome all feedback, positive, negative,
Mhm.
whatnot. And with that, I've been Mike.
No, I'm Thomas.
And anything else
And
to add?
happy anniversary.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been great. It's been a fun year. I have expanded my horizons, which is all kind of frustrating when you go to like what I mentioned before, like where you put on Netflix or whatever something you don't know quite what to watch. It's always good to have recommendations ready to go.
Mhm.
And therein, like I have definitely found a new love for a lot of new genres. With that, we look forward to hearing from you.
Yep. And if you're out there watching, say keep watching.
Keep watching.